This episode of Q Point Podcast is pre-recorded, produced and sponsored by Karina Quirk, broker at Next Home Experience.
Different views.
I know your story.
From different cues.
Incredible job.
He's David Quirk.
You brought it up.
And she's Karina Quirk.
Imagine.
This is
Q Point.
Now joining us in studio is Brewer Police Chief Christopher Martin and Brewer Mayor Michelle Daniels. Welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for having time to come in. We appreciate it.
Chief Martin, recently there was a headline related to allegedly a vehicle at Indian Trail Park that contained crack cocaine and a 5-year-old child. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, this is kind of a heartbreaker. Our officers were checking the park. They check all the parks in our waterfront, and this particular park closes a half hour after sunset. So this is just a little bit before midnight. They find a car. They're going to talk to the people. You know, what are you doing? Who are you? You got to leave. And what they found is that they appeared under the influence. They checked further. There was crack cocaine. And in the process of investigating this, the mother tried to hide the crack pipe in the child safety seat with the 5-year-old. So they were arrested. We had to call Child Protective and make sure the child was taken care of.
Mayor Daniels, when cases like this involve vulnerable children, do you see an increased public support for treatment-oriented responses rather than enforcement?
Actually, I think it's the reverse that I've been seeing lately. The idea of people really want the enforcement. They want people found that are doing this. The sympathy for the child side of things is immense. But the question is, how do you patrol and how do you make sure that that's done and still offer treatment? And I'm sure we're going to get into this, but it falls to the lack of programs, the lack of anything but taking them to jail. And as a matter of fact, Brewer offers a public safety youth camp. It starts at a younger age, goes through middle school and high school. And we attended the graduation. When they go through, they meet the police officers, the firefighters, the EMTs. They learn what the job does. They learn their interactions. And maybe someday they want to become an EMT. They want to become a police officer. And other times it introduces them to someone that's going to help them later.
What a great program. Chief, how long has this program been in place?
Well, this is going to be the 5th year that we've done this, and we've expanded it every single year. It gets bigger and better. And right now, our school resource officer, Ryan Freeman, he's the mastermind behind the agenda, and they're doing cool things. They were out to the Air Guard base yesterday. Then they came back just in time to watch the Forest Rangers helicopter land in Doyle Field in Brewer. They're just having a blast. The kids love it, and we love these kids and having them around. Our first week is always our little kids, 4th, 5th, 6th graders. And then our second round is for our high school kids, and that's where we expanded the program. It used to be just middle school kids. So they do all kinds of neat things. And with different agencies, state police is involved, Bangor's bomb squad's involved, different aspects of the fire service. They watch the jaws of life cut open a demo car. I mean, it's just really cool stuff.
How many kids show up for this event?
We handle about 25 to 30 kids per each session.
That's great. It's been, I know, only 5 years, but have you seen any of these kids come back to you and they're getting involved in emergency services?
I know that some of them have gone into the fire service side of things and EMT side. They'd still be a little young for law enforcement. You have to be 21 to get there. And again, the high school program this is our recent expansion. So we were dealing with middle school.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But I imagine someday we'll have one of these people applying to be a Brewer police officer, and we'll welcome that.
Chief, there's been a lot of talk about the Penobscot County Jail, and I'm sure you're involved with this, obviously. What are you hearing?
Well, they're talking about the potential that they found a location to build a new jail on. Now, for the past several years, I think Brewer has been one of the most supporting communities, saying we absolutely need a new jail. And we've seen very little movement toward that until recently. So we are hopeful this is a good sign that we're going to actually start solving some significant problems. You find the land, you get your plan together, we get it out to the voters to approve, then you start building. And so in theory, you could have a new jail 3, 4, maybe 5 years from now.
And Mayor, what about coming out of your budget for the Penobscot County Jail?
The jail actually is, from what I know, the highest payment that comes out of the city. It's about $1.6 million per year that comes out this year. In the last 10 years, that rate has gone up 88%. This fiscal year alone, it went up 17%. So it is a lot of funds that come out of Brewer to support Penobscot County and in turn, the jail.
Hearing that, are you all in support of the new Penobscot County Jail? Will it be reducing funds for property taxpayers?
I don't know if it will reduce funds. The goal, the hope would always be to reduce funds. Everyone is on board for a new jail. In, I believe, 2020, I went before the county commissioners with a letter from myself and the other counselors. All 5 of us showed up together, as well as the public safety director, the police chief, the city manager, the assistant city manager. We all went in as a whole saying, you need to replace this jail. We, at that point during COVID, really couldn't even take people to the jail. So we really needed to have some relief in that situation. Coming up with the taxes, I would love to see some of it come back into Brewer, because taking that much out really takes away from what we can offer. And in turn, we don't really get a lot of services out of the county as in such a small town would do.
And as I understand it, did you grow up in the jail in a sense?
I tell people that. I grew up in the jail. My grandfather served as sheriff of Penobscot County. His name was Otis Labrie, and he was there in the 70s and 80s. And I grew up in that jail. I grew up sliding down the banister. So I spent over 10 years of my life there. He was the last sheriff to actually live in the jail. So I would sleep over there. I would stay for a week on vacation with my grandparents at the jail. It was a very interesting upbringing.
So you're well aware of the needs.
I am. I'm aware of what it was like and what the jail was like in the 70s and 80s as modernization came into it. And then in 86, when they built the addition on, which was supposed to be the save all, which in turn, parts of it are now sinking. Parts of it have had water damage. There's a huge amount of money that's flowing into that building. I believe around $1 million to fix and replace the elevator, huge amounts of money for the boilers as they went. So it's just a constant. With a new building, you're not going to have that constant amount of money flowing into it that has to keep up. Hopefully they would have the funds set aside each year to take care of building maintenance instead of always having to go to the budget.
If you're just tuning in, you are listening to Q Point Podcast. I'm Karina Quirk, co-hosting with my husband, David Quirk, and we are having a conversation with Brewer Police Chief Christopher Martin and Brewer Mayor Michelle Daniels. Chief, we were talking about this offline, the $2.5 million to rent space in other county jails.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. If you look at, again, I got to go back in time a little bit. The jail's a 150-year-old building. That's the bones of it. And in the mid to late 80s, they put $1 million or so into it. And then fast forward to the past 5 or 6 years, it's literally crumbling down around everybody. The wiring, the plumbing, the control systems for the cells failed, couldn't get parts, and astronomical costs to put in new systems and to try to get access to wiring and plug things in into these old bones of a building. And then you have portions that since COVID can't be used. They're not safe, they're not usable. So that shrinks the space. And every single year, the cost used to be at $1.5 million, $1.7 million. Then we were at $2 million a year for them to board prisoners out. And now this year it's coming at 2.5, and probably next year it would be about 2.7. So that's a lot of money that other people are making to house these inmates. If you look at what a new jail could cost, and again, we don't have any solid figures, we're just kind of spitballing this. But you could be between 40 million, you could be between 80 million. But if you're taking a 20 or 30-year bond out, the payments on that would be just about what we're paying to board prisoners out. And that would be for a brand new facility that could house them. So as far as a business equation goes, this is a good investment. Who wouldn't do this? For the same money you're paying out now, you could get a state-of-the-art facility, and you may actually maybe you save money because you don't have all the repair costs. You don't have all the liabilities. Now let's talk about the human aspect of it. This place is terrible. It's a terrible condition. Now imagine what those conditions are like for the people who are there serving time. Awful, deplorable. Imagine what those conditions are like for the employees. It's the same. Nothing good comes of this. This is not sustainable. It has not been sustainable. I'm glad the county commissioners are moving now, but in my humble opinion, they've waited far too long to course correct on this thing. This needs to happen. You're going to have your opponents, the no new Penobscot County Jail, no jail expansion. These are the same people that are down in Augusta rattling their sabers, that want no consequence for drug possession, want safe injection sites, support the bail reform, and basically don't want us to lock anybody up unless they commit some type of heinous violent crime. We know that doesn't work. We know that if you pay attention to the smaller things, the bigger things take care of themselves. And we have to have accountability as a leverage point to kind of come back to a controllable level. It has not been a controllable level for our problems. A new facility will help with that. Before COVID, they had usable space in there, and they were partnered up with entities like the Barn. They were having AA meetings. They were helping people transition from jail into sober living housing. And there were wonderful things. There were magical things happening in Penobscot County under Sheriff Morton that were not happening anywhere else, and beautiful results. COVID hit. Building continues to deteriorate. There's no space. There's no programming. This is a disservice. We are not getting to root cause. We need those timeouts in jail, but we need to make investments while people are there. With a new facility, there will be programming space. We will be able to help them so we can stop the repetitive cycles. There's also going to be an area for mental health, which is a driving co-occurring disorders with substance use and mental health issues, sometimes standalone mental health issues, the homelessness. All these things, they can have wraparound services to get people hooked up with providers, maybe get them on the right medication regimen. A new jail can do all these things that the current plant maybe used to do, but can't do anymore. So if we're talking about what is a good investment for Penobscot County, a new jail. It's a new jail. It will have an impact on all kinds of different layers. As far as the people out there who are going to scream it's a waste of money, you're wasting money right now. We're wasting money right now to ship them to other county jails. There's going to be some people that are picky about locations of jails. Let's think about this. A majority of our county jails right now are located in the county seats, and usually that's right downtown. Our jail is currently in Bangor, surrounded by businesses, surrounded by apartments, surrounded by houses a stone's throw away. Why are we worried about putting a jail in an industrial park? Honestly, shouldn't be. This is just background noise. What are we trying to fix? We want a facility that works. We want programming space. We want it to be safe. And we want to be good stewards of tax dollars. If we continue to not have a new jail, we are wasting tax dollars. Good stewards of tax dollars is making this investment. And logically, I can't see how we'd go down any other path.
I'm just going to give you an example. I suggest to people that have a problem with the jail that they go for a tour. As new counselors come in, I arrange for them to get a tour of the jail. I have arranged for other counselors from other areas to get tours of the jail. If they don't feel that this is something needed, they have to go in and see it. The last jail tour I went on, when we walked in the door to enter the locked portion, to the left was a counselor counseling an inmate in the hallway as we walked by. There's no space for it. When they do need it, there's no place to do it. When we were in the bigger section of the jail where they house all the inmates, there was a therapy session going on in the main floor area. One counselor with all of the inmates doing therapy, other ones yelling and screaming, whatever it would be. There's no place to actually get help at this point. So I always say, take the time. If you really have a concern, ask for your group to get a tour. Sheriff Morton is always more than welcoming. If I say, hey, I've got someone that wants to come in, he'll make it happen. I think it's just seeing it for what it is and knowing that not only is it fiscally responsible to fix it, it's also morally responsible to fix it. We have people that need help that aren't getting the full impact of it.
What has been the response after you've shown it to them firsthand?
I had one person completely change their mind. I seriously doubted this person would ever change their mind on it, and they agreed that the facility itself, they may not agree that some of the people might need to be there, but they agreed that the facility needed to be changed. And that's all the tour can do. You can talk about it, and I can tell you what I've seen and the difference. Back in the 1970s, they had a women's section that never had anybody in it. I remember one inmate that went in the women's section in the 1970s. My grandmother was the matron of the women's section. So there was never anybody there. They could have work programs where you could hire inmates to come out and work on things. That's long gone because that section of the criminal base is not in jail. So it's a totally different jail at this point. And I think moving forward, as Chief Martin said, a new location is going to give them that. And talking to them, the goal that I'm getting from it is when you're coming in, you're screened. If you're having a mental health problem, you're going to have that help. If you're having a substance abuse issue, you're getting that help. So does it give them a better start? In my mind, it does.
If you're just tuning in, you are listening to Q Point Podcast. I'm Karina Quirk, co-hosting with my husband, David Quirk, and we are having a conversation with Brewer Police Chief Christopher Martin and Brewer Mayor Michelle Daniels.
So you also hear a lot about bail reform, Chief. What can you tell us about that?
We were not successful in Augusta to get reversed. We weren't. We tried awful hard. Second time we've tried, trying to bring back some common sense and normalcy and not follow suit of the policies you find in New York City or San Francisco or Oregon or Washington State. But we couldn't do it. We couldn't convince enough people to go along with that. It was interesting because in some of the deliberations, there actually was a bill that was put out there that would eliminate the offense of violation of bail. They wanted to just take it off the books. And you won't even believe what the reasoning behind that was. Number one, they feel it's a minor offense to violate bail. Shouldn't be a big deal. Number two, it's the most common criminal charge in the state of Maine. More citations for violation of conditions of release were issued than any other crime in the state of Maine. So they feel like, let's just not make it criminal anymore.
So what you're saying is they don't care if they come back to court?
Well, no. Right now, if you're out on bail, you're making a promise that you're going to obey the laws and whatever the conditions are. And if you get caught again, you're out stealing or you're using drugs or whatever, you're going to go in and you're still going to have a very low or perhaps not even any bail. It's in and out, in and out, in and out. And there's no real consequence. It's a joke. That's why we're dealing with offenders with 20 plus, 15 plus sets of bail, that we're dealing with criminal behavior 3, 4, 5 times a week because there's no real consequence. And by the time all these cases come to fruition, they end up getting a heck of a plea deal. They just tag them all together, and there's never any consequence for not behaving yourself. So we were trying to reverse that in Augusta, but there actually was another bill that wanted to eliminate the crime of violating bail. And the reason was, we charge too many people with it. Well, we're charging too many people with it because they're repeat offenders and there's nothing that stops them. They never stay in jail. They're in, they're out, they commit more crime. They're in, they're out, they commit more crime. So that one person may have 4 charges in 1 week. Well, maybe if they had a timeout in jail, there wouldn't be 4 charges on that person. Maybe if they had a timeout in jail, heaven forbid if somebody could not be the victim of a crime that week by their hands. So this is just lunacy, some of the reasons behind this. We couldn't get it reversed. Hopefully, logic will rule the day and it'll get reintroduced. The next legislature convenes and maybe it'll get put back to something that's sensible.
What type of crime are we talking about?
Anything other than the rape, murder, arson. You're talking about criminal mischief, thefts, burglaries, drug possession. A lot of these things, the misdemeanors, are cashless bail. There's no bail bondsman. They just get processed and they get kicked out. So what are they out? 30, 40 minutes, 60 minutes of their time? That's the consequence. If that's the case, what do you think happens with law enforcement? Law enforcement says it's not even worth us driving to the jail. So I'm just going to give you a summons. Well, what does that summons mean to that person? Nothing. And then guess what? They're committing crime the very next day or maybe even that same day. So there's 0 leverage points. How do you manage basic human behavior? Just from a common sense aspect, this doesn't work. And then when they want to say, well, we have a really big problem with people who violate their bail, so let's just get rid of the crime. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. But this is kind of how the logic circles have worked down there around a lot of these criminal justice things. It's mind-blowing, and hopefully someday we're going to get back to a more reasonable approach to managing these bad behaviors out there.
A couple of years ago, remember the catalytic converters that were being stolen like crazy? And those people, same thing. They stole them, they caught them, and next thing you know, they're somewhere else doing it.
Right.
So rather than them being jailed, we had to start putting the serial numbers on the converters itself rather than going after the people who actually stole it. So it's a more cost for businesses rather than the person that's actually committing the crime.
Right. Business is either going to eat the cost or that's going to be passed on to the consumer because of somebody's criminal behaviors. Maybe if they'd been held to account in the past, there wouldn't be such a demand for it. Maybe if the people who accepted these stolen converters for the precious metals, maybe if they're held to account, there wouldn't be such a lot of it. But this is kind of how this is all designed backwards. We're putting the burden and the onus on the people who are law-abiding and peace-loving people who now have to carry the extra burden of criminal behavior. So whether that's higher prices because Walmart's losses have gone through the roof, whether that's longer waiting times in an emergency room or walk-in care, higher insurance premiums, it's all passed on and absorbed at some point.
Mayor Daniels, are you receiving complaints from your citizens related to an increase in criminal activity or anything related to the bail reform situation?
We really don't see it in that side. We see it more from our police department. We rely on our staff to give us the information on how we make our decisions. And what comes from them is, do the police officers want to stay in a job where they do the same thing over and over again with the same result and none of it makes a difference? They want to be able to help people. They want to be able to make sure that there is not a repeat crime, but there's no help on the other side of making sure that that person doesn't repeat it. There's no cost to get out of jail. There's no cost if you're breaking your terms of your bail. There's not a lot of help coming for them. So our job is to listen to them. The citizens themselves, not so much to us in general. I think they understand what's happening at the bigger level, but a lot of times they're not seeing what's happening with the police department. And a lot of times that crime isn't coming back to them. That crime is happening to someone else. So we don't have a huge crime rate, but it affects one person. They don't know that 5 streets away, the same thing happened by the same person. So we just listen. And when Chief Martin asked for something from us, was I willing to testify on the bill that he was looking to get through? Absolutely. You can see the logic in it. We teach our kids common sense and we teach our kids not to do certain things. And we hope that they learn that and process. When you're dealing with this over and over again, it's more like the parents correcting their behavior and the children not correcting theirs. So how do we fix that as a council? We don't. We rely on the staff of the police department to make sure that it's trying to be corrected. So
tell us a little more about the community watch you have in Brewer.
Well, about 8 years ago, the late Dr. Adam Lauer called my house one morning and said, "You need to come to my office." And I said, "Uh-oh." He was my doctor and he was also my friend. And he said, "I found some needles on my steps." He had called Chief Martin. They had a discussion and he decided to start a neighborhood watch. And he said, "You're the most organized person I know, so you're going to help me." And I said, "Okay, I'm in." So he started the process. We started gathering people and I started a Facebook page for it and started having monthly meetings and then combining with the police department and then asking people, "What do you have going on in your neighborhood? What do you need help with?" And we had people showing up saying, "I have an issue. Thank you for asking. I have an issue." It runs a little bit differently now. After I ran for city council, I had to back out of it. It's kind of a conflict sometimes. So there's a group of people that now admin the Facebook page. And when they want to have a meeting for the community, they facilitate that and take care of it. But it really gave a sense of community and a voice to people who didn't think that they really wanted to call the police department about something. Maybe it really wasn't a big deal. Maybe they were just seeing things. And when they really got a chance to sit down in a meeting with the police department took them very seriously. And they saw a difference in it. And it made a difference in quite a few of our communities.
That's really great. And how many are in your group?
The Neighborhood Watch page kind of turned into a community page during COVID, like where can you find toilet paper and what restaurants are open, but it's still used as that function. So we're about 6,500, 6,800 people.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's nice.
Chief Martin, it seems there has been an uptick with Border Patrol arrests. Can you tell us anything about that?
We get the briefings and there's more activity coming across the border. The corridor that impacts Vermont and New Hampshire has been really, really busy, and I think part of that crosses an Indian reservation that goes on both sides into both countries. In Maine, we've seen an uptick. We've had Romanians that have been interdicted coming across. We've had people of Latino descent coming across, Asian, Chinese. We've had confirmed members of MS-13 and Ticonderoga TDA coming across, and they've been apprehended in different areas of Maine. So, yeah, the northern border is ticking along. But again, I think a lot of this is dictated because they're having success on the southwest border. So people are scrambling to get in where they can. And we'll see. I think that trend is going to continue for a while because obviously they don't have the resources, personnel resources, that they have on the southwest border.
You've been listening to Part 1 with Brewer Police Chief Christopher Martin and Brewer Mayor Michelle Daniels. Make sure to tune in to Part 2 tomorrow, Sunday, August 31st at 6:30 a.m. on VOM, the Voice of Maine. You don't want to miss it.
You've been listening to Q Point.
Follow us at qpointpodcast.com or on your favorite streaming app.
This is where you can get the news from the people who make the news.
Make sure to join us next time.
We hope you tune in.
Q Point Podcast invites guests and candidates from all parties to join the conversation. The views, information, opinions, and comments expressed during this program do not necessarily represent those of the host, Q Point Podcast, associates, affiliates, and CQRE LLC.
Thanks for being a part of the conversation. Catch every episode at qpointpodcast.com or wherever you stream. Tune in and tell your friends.